Hello, hello. Welcome back to a game design discussion. Are raids bad? Whenever I talk about raids, some people in the comments seem to think that I hate raids or I find them too hard or whatever else, despite the fact that I always show footage of me beating the raids. But let me address the question. Are raids bad? If we're considering raids just by themselves, my answer would be no. Raids are not bad. Do they offer new content? Yes, and every online game needs new content at some point to keep people interested. Wanting new content is never a bad thing. So that's not a negative. Do they offer harder gameplay? Yes, usually raid style content is intended to be harder than other content in a game. So that's not a problem. Do they offer worthwhile rewards? Yes, you get more rewards because the raids are more difficult. So that's not out of place. At face value, it sounds like it all just works. So what's the big deal then? The problem is the rest of the game and how it's affected by raid style content. You have to keep the context in mind. Let's use raids in Fallout 76 as an example first, and then contrast that with another game that has raids. Do they offer new content? Yes, but it sends players off into a separate space to play by themselves. One of the major strengths of Fallout 76 is the map, which is frankly great if you actually take the time to look around, and the player community, which is one of the friendliest around. Both of which are irrelevant in a raid. Focusing on raids undermines some of the best positives about the game. Do they offer harder gameplay? Yes, but that then creates a gap in power between players who do raids and those who don't. Players who raid end up complaining, with good reason mind you, that the rest of the game is too easy. They're just too powerful now. But if you make the rest of the game harder to compensate, then players who enjoy focusing on things like exploring and camp building, instead of power gaming, are forced to min-max just to keep up. Naturally splitting the audience. And I remind you that the camp builders are most likely the ones who spend atoms in the store and therefore keep the game going. You're penalizing your most valuable players. And just quickly on the point of harder gameplay in general, let me remind you that Fallout 76 is a game that has a built-in aimbot that gives you easy headshots for guaranteed double damage. On top of that, the aimbot system has criticals for even more damage. We're looking at multiple times normal damage with a bat's critical. Plus there's a bunch of perks, legendary properties, and consumables that allow you to pretty much get unlimited criticals. If you're looking for so-called harder gameplay in Fallout 76, then you may be playing the wrong game. Do they offer worthwhile rewards? Yes, but because you get more rewards, you start to ask why you would bother to do anything else. The result is that players just do raids. You end up in a situation where you log in, go to a separate space, and do the same repetitive content over and over again. You don't explore, you don't engage with the community, and worst of all, you don't even have anything to spend those rewards on. If you're going to do that, then you might as well play Raids Shadow Legends. You want raids? The name of the game is literally Raids. And no, this is not a sponsored ad of some kind. I don't have a problem with new content, good rewards, or even harder gameplay. New content? It's absolutely needed in Fallout 76. I'm the last person that would complain about new content. But my point is that it needs to be done in a way that strengthens the game instead of undermining what made it good in the first place. This is why I called for caravans to actually travel through the map instead of going in circles. And why I said that fixing the nuclear power plants should give you a server-wide bonus. Both would make use of the map and improve the community spirit in the game. Harder gameplay? That's debatable and there's arguments for both sides. But it needs to be more than just tankier enemies and bigger numbers. Let me say here that adding tanky enemies and more powerful weapons is tempting for the developers. It's an easy way to add new content. But you have to think about how it affects the rest of the game. With a chill and casual game like Fallout 76, it's not a good idea to encourage power leveling. Better rewards? Sure, but you have to maintain a balance that doesn't break the rest of the game and exclude other players. I personally suggest focusing on changes that add more interesting functionality than those that give you just bigger numbers. The point I'm trying to make is that context matters, and for Fallout 76, raids do not fit that context. At least not in a way that justifies the game having a lot of raids. 1 or maybe 2 should be okay as a bit of spice on top of normal content, but if the game becomes all about raids, then it would kill the game in the long term. Let me contrast that with a game where raids fit, first Descendant, so you can see what I'm trying to say. This is a game that's all about power gaming and leveling. Every system is laser focused on combat. There's no exploration to speak of. The map is a series of small zones where the only thing you do is kick a few boxes for low quality loot. And events where you fight a few low level enemies for the express purpose of farming materials. There's also encryption boxes that allow you to get some rare materials for crafting. There's just not much to do. That's not to say that there wasn't care applied to the maps. There is an architecture and a flavor to each region. It's not like we're talking about some kind of AI slop. Some of the locations look pretty damn good. But the problem is that they lack a purpose beyond looking good. These maps exist primarily for the purpose of being stages where you fight. So you quickly realize that there's no point to exploring or even caring about them. You simply pass through them to get to your next objective. There's no community to speak of. There are definitely other players, but the only way you interact with them is via shared emotes and doing some combat missions together. You're a bunch of individuals that sometimes happen to do the same mission. It looks like the developers are trying to add a system where you call for help, but I've never seen anybody using it, and the start of a trading system, but that's still in the early stages. If you play with a group where you know each other, it might be different, but for most players, the other players are simply people passing by. There's just no shared sense of community. But what you do have is an ever-escalating difficulty curve. Like I said before, this game was clearly created with combat and power leveling in mind. I won't go into the details, but you can really tune and customize your character to get the most power in a way that is literally impossible in Fallout 76. So for example, by maxing the range and uptime of my powers, I can literally sit back and watch enemies die as soon as they spawn. They literally had to add special resistances to later missions to work around this. Or one-shot a boss. Yes, that's over 21 million points of damage. Back in the day this boss was very difficult, but now it's a one-shot because I have a character that's maxed out. This is the kind of power scaling we're talking about. In the context of First Descendant, the answers to those questions change dramatically. Do they offer new content? Hell yeah, every season comes with a new character and a new weapon to upgrade. So last season they added swords which do massive damage when fully upgraded. And there's new bosses and new raids added every season. There's never a shortage of content. It's purely about combat, but there's always new combat activities to do. Do they offer harder gameplay? Hell yeah! You have to grind to become more powerful in order to take on the new content. There's an ever-present need to tweak and refine your builds to maximize how much damage you do. So of course, they offer a testing ground where you can test your new builds. Yeah, see those numbers? Do they offer worthwhile rewards? Hell yeah! Doing raids allows you to unlock new characters and weapons, which then allows you to access the next set of raids. Pretty much the entire game is just a series of raids with ever-increasing difficulty. And it works because the game was designed from the ground up to be all about power leveling. Raids are perfectly fine in and of themselves, but it has to be in a game where they fit. Adding a raid to First Descendant makes perfect sense. But on the other hand, adding one to Animal Crossing, for example, would make no effing sense in any way, shape or form. The reason is that they're different types of games. The context matters. And that's the reason I don't think raids fit well with Fallout 76. Fallout 76, and Fallout more broadly speaking, is simply not about power gaming. The irony is that I think that Fallout 76 and the First Descendant actually complement each other pretty well. You can play First Descendant to get your fix of tweaking builds, raiding, and power leveling. Then you can play Fallout 76 to get your fix of a great community and a world worth exploring. They each have their own strengths, and I think they fit together quite nicely. But trying to change Fallout 76 into First Descendant is a bad approach, and it's bound to work against the long-term health of the game. We're already seeing this happening. Who cares how much DPS you can get in Fallout 76? So you can kill everything in a second. Great. All you're doing is making the game boring for yourself. I genuinely recommend that anybody who loves raids and did them over and over again try out First Descendant. It's literally free and gives you the gameplay you crave.